Arvex channel. Astro Design's taking over here today, so I hope you guys don't mind. I'm Terry Harada with Astro Design, CEO of the United States branch for Astro Design. And we have a bunch of exciting products that we're going to showcase for you today. One is what you see right now is our 8K 120 hertz AB4815 camera. This camera head is 8K 120 hertz, 12G quad out. Actually, we can do 8 12G SDI out, and is currently being used in Levi's Stadium with the 49ers. We recently installed a 5-camera array replay system in Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, so we're very excited for the upcoming NFL season, and we hope to bring you some gorgeous pictures and hopefully overturn some football calls that refs would call.
So right there in Levi Stadium is right next to your office, or?
Yeah, so Levi's is fortunately like 5 minutes away from my location here. Luckily, we have a partnership with Foxconn Industrial Internet, and they helped us kind of introduce us to the 49ers, and they're one of my longtime favorite teams, so I'm happy to help the team out with brand new technology. This is cutting edge. There's nowhere else in the world where you can get 8K 120 hertz camera, let alone in a stadium, permanent stadium fixture. So we're super excited about our recent installation in Levi's Stadium.
And I've seen the news that you're launching a Micro Four Thirds 8K camera. This is exciting because it's what is the sensor on the one that you're just showing there, and is that like a full frame or?
So this the sensor that we have on this AB4815 is secret. I can't tell you.
Okay.
But the sensor that is coming in on the 8K30 camera, the small cube camera that we have coming out, that's actually made by Bosma Technologies, and that is using a similar sensor to what the Sharp Micro Four Thirds camera was going to be. That unfortunately got delayed a little bit from my understanding. So sensor is, I believe it's Sharp. So
nice. So I mean, the specialty of Astro Design is you are years ahead of everybody else, right? You are showing the technology of the future all the time, right? You always trying to you like working with the industry, implementing the next standards, the next.
So yeah, we at Astro work on the cutting edge of digital video, and we can kind of show you our history a little bit, and it might make a little bit more sense on why we kind of gravitated towards this 8K resolution. Way back before anyone else started this, we launched the very first 8K camera head back in 2013. Actually at NAB in 2013, and that was an 8K 60 cube camera that we launched. And so we've been working on 8K for quite some time now. It's already 2021, believe it or not. So we've been working on this technology for a good portion of 7 years, 8 years now, and in conjunction with great partners such as like NHK. Over in Japan, who's really a driving force in this super high resolution of 8K that we were enjoying today. So, yeah.
All right, I'm just going to try to screen share for a second the video I did with your colleague, or with, I think it was this one right there. Yeah, there you have it. So when you're talking about this was 2013.
There it is. Yes, our cube camera. So I believe you were talking with Ishii-san on the camera system. So yeah, that was back when 8K first kind of trickled into everyone's kind of mindset. 2013. So this is actually being maturing technology. So it's not anything that's super brand new for us. But rather a matured technology that we've kind of honed in on and identified, major hurdles in data transfer speed and just data management. And we've overcome those hurdles with the supporting products. So we're ready to go with 8K. If you need an 8K ecosystem, we at Astro Design can provide you a closed from capture all the way to recording to display solution. So we're your one-stop shop for anything 8K, especially if you're attacking something super high-end. We love that.
So, for example, at the Levi Stadium, there'll be 5 8K cameras.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Is there anything like they will, because they're only broadcasting in 4K, aren't they?
Yeah, so we've partnered up with Everts on this one, and we're able to actually send those live stream of 8K straight up into the control room, where we break that signal down. That 812G SDI signal gets broken down through Astro Design conversion, and we actually broke it down to 16 3G SDI BNC outputs so that the Everts Dreamcatcher can ingest and provide a replay system. So we really introduced something very new into an older existing workflow, and it works flawlessly. So we're thrilled that everything's up and running. We got everything up and running last year, and we're excited to really push the system this year, since we had some opportunities taken away from us due to the pandemic. But we expect to see some great footage coming out of this camera head moving forward in this next football season. So we're excited.
Does the live multi-camera system like enable some kind of a crop? So the producer has a freedom of cropping in the 4K wherever they want it to be, like in real time?
Yeah, Nick, that's perfect. That's exactly what the system is going to be doing. We're going to be trained on both the goal line and sidelines and be able to digitally extract an image from that full frame 8K image and really hone in and get a really good picture that's not going to be pixelated if you digitally zoom in on the action. I think you see that today with sports replays when you're really kind of trying to zoom in and get a really close image. You're skipping frames. The action seems kind of skippy, to say a word, and also digitally pixelated. Now with 8K technology, you do the same digital zoom, you're going to get a clear image, and because we're running at 120 hertz per second instead of 60 hertz, we're going to catch an extra step with the image frame itself. So you're looking at a slow motion, high digitally being able to digitally extract a very quality image and really kind of see everything that happens. So we'll be able to see logos on shoes and stuff like that. So it's going to be pretty cool.
And here's an article at newsshooter.com about your Bosma G1 AK Micro Four Thirds camera. So it's going to be compact.
This camera is super exciting. So this camera is actually made by Bosma. Bosma is a company that specialized in like telescope lenses and stuff way back when, and they've kind of grown their business to where they wanted to provide an 8K camera at an affordable price point. I don't have the exact MSRP price yet, but that's coming. But we're allowed to provide this Bosma camera to all of our customers now. Not only in Asia, but also here in the United States. So if there's any desire to test this Bosma camera, please send me an inquiry and I'd be happy to vet and see what we can do for you guys. The very cool thing about this camera is that it's going to be able to stream out of the camera head directly. So there's an Ethernet port. We also are going to supply this with an accessory that allows you to connect to a 5G network and live stream directly out of the camera. So pretty amazing, small camera. This is an 8K 30p camera head. So hopefully people like you, Nick, will be able to pick this up and start utilizing it in your own productions.
Yeah, because I'm right now I'm on my Micro Four Thirds camera. I'm connecting with a Camlink 4K. I don't know how smooth it gets on the system, but I've always been a big fan of. Well, there's pretty much only Japan making cameras that anyone want to use, right? I'm joking a little bit, but I mean, it's like all the tech, all the camera tech, all this the best like kind of like sensor stuff and all the optics, the expertise in optics, and it's always out of Japan. And your company is headquartered in Japan, right? So
Yeah,
you partner with all these companies. You partner with the Panas. I'm just guessing here. I don't know if it's public or not, but you probably partner with Panasonic, Sony, everybody.
We have friends in all those companies, so yeah, a lot of people do come to us for some consulting needs and so forth, and sometimes some design work, and we're happy to field those inquiries and see what we can do for everyone. So a lot of the companies do. I like to call ourselves more of a background company where we work in the background and we don't take much of the flair for a lot of the things that we do. But it's something that we're definitely capable of is helping and consulting as well as doing design work and so forth. So.
All right. So it goes from just being what's it called enabling the technology together with the manufacturers to actually shipping solutions. For example, when you partner with the Levi Stadium and like
Yes.
it's the whole range you do.
Yes, we can do it all. So any difficult video challenge that you may have, Astro Design is willing to listen and see what we can do, especially when it comes to the 8K space. We launched the Amazon Workstation that Nick, you saw a couple years back at CES that was doing a live 8K raw video editing, and so we have all the supporting products that you can think of. We can do it in house, so it's an amazing company.
And right here, you send me another little clip that you are filming of another thing that's happening, because you're always involved. Also, back in 2013, I saw you show 8K display technology also, and
yes,
this is Display Week 2021. So you're very much involved with all the display companies.
Yeah, so we do make our own in-house displays as well. These displays are high-end displays. So what you're seeing right here is our DM3430. This is a 4K OLED display. Goes up to 500 nits, and this is more of a 4K display. So designed really more for kind of monitoring and on-set type of a 4K quick reference type of a deal, but really, really high quality on this. We are introducing 23.98 and 24p support on this display, so that should be ready pretty soon. But as of now, it's a 4K 60 type of a display, capable of HDR and all the good stuff that you have right now, but definitely more of a broadcast solution type of a display.
There's the market of OLEDs, but also LCDs has been booming in this past strange year, where people are just enjoying better and better quality TVs, and they're buying like crazy, like never before. They're buying all these TVs. So there's quite a lot of enjoyment out there of people enjoying their OLED TVs, right? And getting all the tech, the colors and stuff.
The color representation now, the pixels are getting higher quality for sure. I think there's a huge focus on making pixels a better color and of truer, just representation of what the creator's intent was. So we're happy to support all of the color gamuts that are out there right now, and really focus on like the DCI and the color formats, so we can do all of that as well.
And you've been working on the LCD stuff a lot also.
So this particular monitor is an OLED, but we also do have an LCD 8K display coming out in November, and that will be LCD display that can do full frame 8K, and it'll have 1,000 nit capability on that LCD. So we really, at Astro, we develop all these products to kind of fulfill our own needs. So we strive for the highest quality we can possibly do in all of our products. So, when it comes to our own enclosed ecosystem, I can guarantee you the images are just jaw-droppingly gorgeous.
Nice. That's awesome. And maybe, Jawad, do you want to jump in and talk a little bit about some of the latest stuff that you're doing? You're working in marketing, right?
Yeah, so first of all, I would like to thank you very much for inviting us on this meeting. My name is Jawad, and I'm the sales manager of Astro Design. And so what I primarily take care of is the test and measurement side of the business. And this is done through interacting with both new and current customers that we work with and exploring the best solutions for their audiovisual needs. Our test solutions today are namely HDMI certified video generators and analyzers, which are in fact used by the most reputable corporations that you can think of worldwide on their consumer electronics. The service that I personally look to provide is listening to the needs of our customers and ultimately delivering the solution that will fit their current and future needs, especially with HDMI 2.1 being the new and still developing technology. So what you see in front of you that Terry has is our VA1847, and this would be our HDMI 2.1 protocol analyzer. And it's used for testing both sync devices, source devices, as well as repeater devices. So with HDMI 2.1 still being a still developing technology, we are beginning to see more traction in the market, and accordingly, we would like to provide the test tools to support that interface.
All right, because right there in the Silicon Valley, there's a lot of tech companies that are just doing crazy, amazing tech, right? And they need all your gear to tune their devices and their future releases and everything, and to make sure everything displays correctly and works correctly and everything?
Yeah, so, we have signal generation and the analyzer side of the whole HDMI ecosystem. So we are, able to test a lot of the new functions and features that HDMI 2.1 is launching. One is the capability of 8K. I mean, that's brand new, right? 48 gigabits per second over an HDMI cable. We can handle that with our signal generator and our protocol analyzer. On top of that, everyone's getting excited over features such as eARC and variable refresh rate and dynamic metadata HDR. These are test items that we can help anyone kind of develop their HDMI 2.1, HDMI 2.0, HDMI 1.4 products for one, quality assurance, two, development, and just three, research, really. If you're wanting to expand into the newest video interfaces like HDMI 2.1, we can support you from source to sync. And from this prowess is kind of how we developed our 8K technology. Kind of comes from our ability to generate whatever video signal that we need to out of a powerful signal generator such as this VG879. So, from like I said before, from development all the way to the end product and to quality assurance, we have test tools here at Astro that are typically not seen by anyone except for the engineers that work with these interfaces and these projects. But we do everything with the digital video signals.
So you basically fully involved and fully supported on the whole HDMI 2.1 sphere of technology, which is still, it's been launched 2-3 years, but it's like pretty much like the thing that people want to have when they buy a new TV and stuff.
We want to make sure everything works, and kind of handshakes correctly, so that when you are at home and you have like an AV receiver and you have a brand new PlayStation 5 or Xbox and you want to, get the most out of those devices, well, you plug this HDMI cable in and, magically things work, right? Well, there's a lot of work happening on the back end with testing and making sure this interoperability can happen and be flawless. So we've been really kind of involved with the HDMI Forum itself to when we're talking about testing of the standard. All of our devices have compliance test capabilities with HDMI 2.1 as well as HDMI 2.0, and we can also test HDMI 1.4 even. So really anything with HDMI, you can come to us as an expert, and rest assured that we'll be able to give you the proper information that you need. We can see all the packet data that's being sent over the HDMI link. We can look in real time at the DDC line And we can even test CEC commands and make sure that the devices interact as they would. So, the TVs that you have at home, the whole HDMI ecosystem itself, all of that has stringent tests in order to pass and be able to say you have HDMI capable devices. So we work hand in hand with, one, the manufacturers, two, the forum, and three, end users themselves who are, maybe having an issue, such as like cable makers and so forth that are having issues kind of, testing their cables on the protocol level. We can help with that as well. So, as cool as 8K is, really the backbone is our test and measurement solutions that we have to offer. And I think that's kind of, like I said, a behind the scenes type of a happening that happens with your products that you don't realize, there's a ton of work going into it to make sure, whatever you plug into simply magically works as it should. And so we're thrilled to work with all of these companies and make sure that the HDMI ecosystem, works as intended.
Yeah,
So
and
even
a lot of us folks, sorry.
Please
So
go
a lot of us folks tend to take all of this for granted, but as Terry said, there is a lot of back-end development work that's been going on. So essentially, any technology that has the HDMI interface will necessitate HDMI test equipment. So the sole reason is because without the test equipment, a consumer's product will not be working as it should.
All right, and even though, as far as I understand, a lot of the hardware gets manufactured over in Asia, right? But in the Silicon Valley, there's mind-blowingly awesome companies. Like I'll just mention a few. I don't know if they work. They probably work with you, but let's say the companies that make 3D graphics and game stuff. And they want, maybe they're even working on cloud gaming, and they want it to work perfectly smooth, low lag, low latency. One of the new things with HDMI 2.1 is the aspect that works well for the gaming and stuff like that, right? So they must be, I guess, super busy trying to be compatible with everything, and they need at least one of your machines in their building, right? When they're doing the R&D.
Yeah, it'd be pretty safe to assume that you'd find an Astro Design product in every major corporation that's doing display testing and doing kind of display work, whether it be source or sync device, because you need a quality golden sample signal to be assured of what your device is doing or not doing. And we provide that signal for companies to use and test and make sure that their products are working correctly. So.
All right, and maybe you can give a little bit more of an insight without telling exactly what scenarios are in play, but let's say what kind of awesome projects are being developed with your gear over there in the Silicon Valley.
What kind of awesome projects?
Without saying what's happening in like 2 or 3 years in the future, but like just I guess all these companies want to get involved in branding new TVs that they want to sell, maybe, or they want to do like just like game consoles and all these things. They're like, you also working in with getting the source from the HD1 2.1 device, and then like, I guess.
So a lot of our cool offerings and products, we'll leave our customers to kind of let you know what they're working on. There's a fiduciary responsibility with a test equipment manufacturer where we'd love to tell you what they're working on, but we absolutely cannot. So I can assure you that companies are testing HDMI 2.1 to an extent where they make sure everything works properly. And we see a lot of that through just the testing that we know of. We understand the goals are to make sure everything works in a seamless manner so that, at the consumer level, there's no guesswork or question mark on why isn't it working. We can provide you an answer on why there are errors and so forth. So I I wish I could tell you more about those projects, Nick, but unfortunately, there's
just try to dream about or imagine what it means. Just mention
there's
awesome stuff
some,
because as Astro has been the first one to show me 8K everything, like since 2013, 8K displays, 8K cameras, and people are a little bit, like in the enthusiast camera market, they're kind of wondering why they would need 8K. But I'm thinking, 8 megapixel, that's really old. I had an 8 megapixel camera back in 2002 or something. So
yeah.
everything above 8 megapixel is pretty much better to watch it on an 8K display.
So
And that's getting towards an 8K camera also.
Yeah, so I think we're seeing a transformation through video, kind of the same steps that we saw when we went from standard definition to high definition. It's just kind of a natural evolution of video itself. We have been focused ever since 1977 on providing this signal to customers, and we see this evolution happening now where, we're going through 4K and HDR a lot right now. And people do ask why 8K? Well, I turn it around and say, why not 8K? Because there's so much with video that we've done all the way up until now that's been kind of traditional full frame use, and kind of call that video. With 8K, you have an opportunity now to use that full frame and digitally extract from that full frame what it is you want. So what I like to say is with 8K, especially when we're talking about capturing video, is it's now kind of a set and forget type of an application where you can set your frame as wide as you want and still get all the fidelity and still get all the clean pixels that you would expect if you were focused just on that portion. So with 8K technology and 8K video, I turn it around to the creatives and say, well, here's a new tool. What can you do with it? Show us something new and innovative that you can use within this full frame of video. And maybe there could be something there. I think 8K video is not only good for its full frame of use, but being able to use portions of that display, portions of that video, like a quadrant of that video even. And that will still be just as clear as what you're seeing at home right now, because 8K is essentially a quadrant of 4Ks put together.
All right. I'm just getting a report that Terry, your sound is a little bit loud. So if you can click next to the mute button and turn off auto adjust mic volume and maybe just set it a little bit lower, your mic. That's what I'm hearing. It's just a little bit too loud. But yeah. So but it's really nice to see your slides. You find that setting?
Have a volume at.
Yeah.
It was at 0%.
Oh, just a little bit higher. A little bit higher.
Yeah. How's that? 10%.
Or no. Maybe at like 60% or 70%.
Okay, let me turn it on.
Right there. Yeah. Just.
Are we good?
Yeah. Let's try there. Okay. Hopefully it's better.
Okay.
So there's really nice, interesting slides. So let's talk. What are you showing here?
Yeah, so right here you can see our kind of ecosystem for our 8K. We can go from capture, which is the camera. We can record everything that we shoot with our 8K recorders. Now these can be in uncompressed or compressed format. Once you do all that recording, we can do a cross conversion so that we can convert from in our case of 8K 120, 12G SDI and break that down into like a quad 12G. Or we can even take a quad 12G SDI signal and convert that into HDMI 2.1. So you can send an HDMI 2.1 signal up to, all these gorgeous 8K televisions that are being launched right now, which support HDMI 2.1. Or we can go straight into an SDI, more broadcast professional type display as well. So we can do the entire 8K ecosystem here at Astro. And if we can go to the next slide, The applications for this are endless. Anywhere you're using video today, really, from security, which I think the Bosma camera solution is going to be a game changer in that regards. You imagine having being able to digitally zoom in on a crowd and pick out what a person is holding in their hands. We understand privacy is a concern, so when we do this, with our own solution, we actually mask the face of the people so that no privacy is kind of invaded. And that way you're kind of making everyone an avatar almost, but you're still able to capture everything and zoom in on everything. Medical is going to be a huge deal, especially with endoscopic surgery, I believe, with 8K. The image fidelity is just so great that the doctors can see everything that they might not even be able to see with their own eyes with our 8K camera solutions. Amazingly enough, I'm gonna say that we're going to see a huge change in the cosmetic world, and the reason why for this is, well, I think we see it a little bit with 4K now. You're starting to see actors becoming more human, and that's simply going to continue. With 8K resolution, you're going to see everything. So cosmetics are going to change a little bit. Sports is already kind of self-proven with us. We are in Levi Stadium now, so we're going to enjoy some gorgeous 8K capture in Levi Stadium this year with football, and hopefully that'll spread to other sports and leagues. I know World Cup and Olympics this year will be shot in 8K, so you'll see that. Face analysis, once again, that's kind of tied into the security aspect of things. We're looking for partners to help with this so that we can identify objects. And even, the boring stuff that, we don't get to see, such as like factory inspections or infrastructure inspections, where we take a camera through a tunnel, for instance, and we can look at the tunnel infrastructure, and we can identify cracks in that tunnel or cracks in any pipeline or anything like that. So that's something that we're doing. And finally, just cultural preservation, being able to shoot, artifacts in 8K, 3D model it so that you have a full 8K 3D rendered model of historic cultural artifacts, so that we can preserve that for future generations. So really 8K use case, I mean, you imagine it, we can do it. Anything with video today that needs an enhancement can definitely gravitate towards this 8K resolution. So it's an exciting time. We're seeing things slowly kind of bleed over into that realm. And once we do, I feel the reality of video, that uncanny valley that we're experiencing right now, is going to slowly disappear. So we are excited to be at the leading edge and see what people want to do with this technology.
A few, 2, 3, 4 years ago, I did a video with NHK. They were talking about that Japan wanted to kind of like skip 4K and just get everything ready to 8K. That was kind of like the vision or something like that.
Yeah,
how is that going?
We kind of followed that vision as well. A lot of our product line was actually developed as 8K first, and then we moved back into 4K. So the monitor that we just showcased earlier is kind of a representation of us going from being able to do 8K on a display and then kind of dial it back a little bit and provide a high quality 4K display. Gosh, my office is a mess. I'm sorry, but yeah, we think that there's a huge benefit to what we're doing and providing, and it'll be more of an enhancement for what we see today. So, when things get better, people are going to start gravitating towards it, and we just want to make video that much better.
Nice. When I was doing that interview with NHK 3-4 years ago at the IBC in Amsterdam, they were talking about 8K kind of needs 120 because otherwise you get motion blur or something like that, right? So
yes.
So while 8K 30 is going to be cool and fun, And I guess the first cameras will kind of do 8K 30, the cheaper ones, the Micro Four Thirds and everything, because it's hard for them to just support 8K 120. But
yeah, I mean,
if you really want to do it right, you need 120, right?
you do need that extra frame rate, and the reasoning is because you have the same item traveling across way more pixels now. So with 8K 60, if we can go back to the 8K 60 120 slide, Joe, I'd couple up. There it is. Go back down. And one more. One more. There you go.
Yeah.
So,
sorry. There.
So with this image, you can really see, you know, since we're doubling the frames, the runner in this case won't be jumping, you know, from one frame to another, which is the problem with when you increase the resolution. You have an object traveling around more pixels. So you need to have that extra frame rate so that image is kind of similar to what we're used to right now watching 8K, like 4K 60 content or HD 60 content. So the extra frame rate is added benefit that you're capturing more. But it also kind of reduces kind of the uneasy feeling of seeing something step and jump across the screen. So it just kind of allows for a more natural look and feel of what you actually see. With 8K video, it's really, you know, when you watch true 8K video, it on a true 8K display, it is just jaw-droppingly, you know, it's like peering into a window, but you know, the window is actually clearer than what your eyes can see. So it's weird because your eyes will move across the screen and focus on things as you would in real life. So it's almost like being on location, for instance, like you're really there. And it's one of those feelings I can't convey unless you experience it yourself. And then once you experience it, then you understand, oh, this is what it's supposed to be like. So a lot of what's happening right now when you walk into Best Buy and you watch movies and you know, it's simply upscaled 8K content, you're probably not going to get the same feeling that I get watching a true end-to-end 8K video solution. And I think that's just kind of something that people need to experience. But once people experience it, this video resolution is just going to become a no-brainer.
Because there's so many YouTubers who think, just stay on 24 or 30p, right? And I've been insisting. I got over to the Panasonic GH5 and I'm on the G9 now because they're able to do 4K 60, and I kind of wanted to believe, and I hope I'm right, that my footage, especially when I'm doing handheld footage and moving around with my steady shot system, that I like to have movements in my camera, and I kind of eliminate the motion blur, so my footage is much sharper.
Exactly.
Just because it's 60, right?
Yes. I think frame rate's a very important thing for clear video. You know, the higher we can go, the better. But the only problem with that is you're increasing the data load of that video quite substantially. So then you're talking about, well, how do we handle this video? And the answer today is, unfortunately, it's compression. But we'd love raw 8K video, and you know, it's just the pipeline is getting bigger and bigger, so we need to shove more data through the same pipes right now. So hopefully, you know, with like 5G network technology, that helps quite a bit in alleviating that problem of getting all those bits through those cables.
Yeah, but there's also a magic happening in codecs, right? I keep seeing all this, and I keep, like, my mind is a little bit blown when I hear how it's possible to actually do 4K and 10, 15 megabit per second, which is what Netflix is doing and Amazon Prime is doing and YouTube is doing, all these low bit rates. And I guess they're using H.265 and maybe a VP9, or maybe even talk about AV1. Are you involved in all this stuff?
So the standardization process is kind of a conglomerate of a bunch of you know, top executives that come together and decide you know, what steps should be what. And it's the same thing that we experience with HDMI, how we kind of have a working group that kind of works and defines these standards. We are not a part of a lot of those working groups because there's a lot of genius people out there that we let define. However, we do go off the page and do our own standardization, to solve problems that simply don't exist yet. So with 8K 120 hertz, there's actually no standard available. So we developed our own standard based off of a 4K 2SI 120 SMPTE standard, and kind of adapted that to our own use case. So we do some off-the-wall stuff here, some non-standardized stuff. As a codec, we have gravitated towards a HEVC. It's a Grass Valley codec that we use, and we find that it's the best quality that we can find for the type of data that we're producing. And so, codecs are important, and they're going to evolve. And that's just going to be the natural progression of this video.
What I'm thinking is also one of the big selling points for me many years ago, like 10 years ago, when I was seeing the 4K demos and trade shows, it was always like this: seeing your family, at least slideshow photos of family pictures on a 4K display was completely amazing 10 years ago. But now it's completely amazing to see slideshow like Google Photo slideshows or something like that, because they're all 16 megapixel. They're all like more than 8 megapixel. They're all maybe 24 megapixel.
Right.
And everybody has that right now. Everybody has an 8K camera just for photos. So when people say there's no content, I'm like, hello, we've been taking more than 8 megapixel photos since 2002. So the content is there. And of course, as soon as we get like the smartphones, they're pretty much, some of them are even trying to do 8K. Like, I don't know if their sensors are like so small, but that's the next thing. You want to see it. When I have a baby, I want to record only 8K. I don't want to do anything in 4K because it has to be like, it has to be like just like being there.
Yeah, no, and it really is with 8K video. It really feels like you are there. Important things moving forward are definitely going to be cameras equipped with like global shutters and so forth. So that a perfect example is the fan on the bottom there. One's taken with global shutter, one is not. And global shutter allows us to capture fast moving images, but still represent it as you and I would see in person. So camera technology is also going to be evolving to catch up and make sure that we can capture all of these frames. We are using
here.
We are using a 33 megapixel sensor. We use most of the full 33 megapixel data. There are edges and so forth that we might throw away, but that's more kind of lensing dependent.
And is the same on the Micro Four Thirds announcement that you have?
I can't speak on the megapixel capability on that Micro Four Thirds camera because I simply do not know. So I'm not going to give you guys information that I'm assuming.
Because I've been waiting 4.5 years or something for the Panasonic GH6 to come out, and everybody was thinking maybe like Panasonic even announced 2-3 years ago, like they want to do 8K in the future. But the question is, of course, they're doing that, and you're doing that for the professionals and for the stuff that goes into the Olympics and stuff like that. But really when does it get consumer? Like that's a big question, and because it's not easy to put a 33 megapixel sensor in a Micro Four Thirds.
It definitely isn't. There's issues with the hardware itself. Heat dissipation is one huge issue because you're pushing these processors quite hard to capture all these images, and I think there's some news out there about heat being an issue with smaller bodied cameras. So with our solutions, we make sure that everything is fully vented and can operate. We have a the Sharp 8K camcorder has Astro Design technology inside, and that's a kind of a mobile camera, but it definitely isn't that smaller form factor that people desire and want, which I'm super excited about the Bosma product line offering, because then you have something that'll fit in the palm of your hand, and is designed to shoot 8K video. So as well as stream out directly from that camera head. So I think that's the most amazing thing about that camera, is that able to stream directly out of the camera, via HDMI 2.1 or Ethernet or that 5G accessory. So yeah, I think it's going to become more compact, more mobile, and you're going to see these products kind of move into a price point where it's going to be exciting for people to pick up. And I think you're going to see a lot of creatives find a different way of using this video, because you have so much more pixels to work with. People are going to start thinking outside the box when it comes to capturing, and that's what I'm most excited seeing, is the evolution of the creative side of everything, and see how people use these extra pixels, because as great as 8K is, you probably don't want a full 8K frame of my face. It'll probably be too much for a lot of people. So we want to make sure that you're not using everything, but you can use portions of it. Or if you want to use everything, please use everything. But I think there's a huge creative kind of evolution that's on the in our new future.
I think I guess the big question, when people say, 8K, who needs that? But I think we totally need it, because I am confident we're going to get huge TVs, and we're going to get huge, like maybe projectors and maybe micro LEDs. It's going to become affordable, and hopefully as soon as possible, because everybody's talking about it, right? Are you involved in micro LEDs? Or you want to cover, like everybody has a wall at home. Like hopefully they're living in a home that has a big wall, and it needs to be the whole wall needs to be a display, and that needs to be in every home.
There are definitely solutions out there right now. I'm not going to name names, because then it'll seem like I'm playing favoritism. But there are solutions like that available. We don't work on the actual, micro LED or OLED portion of the display, but we'll work on sending the proper signal to make those displays light up and work as they're intended. So we can test a lot of those huge walls with our signal generator product, for instance. And it's just, going to be exciting to see what people do with, the current technologies that are out there.
All right. I think it's very exciting. And of course, there's a lot of work that can be done to improve 4K still, especially considering that so many people are filming their babies with their little phones and stuff. And if one thinks how tiny that sensor is, when people want to make so thin phones, there's so much more they could do if they get something a little bit bigger. I think there's so much more that they can do, but there's so many like marketing people and all these phone companies are saying, they're putting their big posters and saying shot on this company's phone and stuff. But I want to see everybody adopt better sensors and better, like all the consumers getting involved, not only the big pros.
Yeah, it's that's tough, right? Because you're talking about a prosumer consumer world, and there are different targets and different needs for each group. So we'd like to support the prosumer and professional group with professional grade equipment like these camera, and the consumer group has a different target and different use case and specifically different price point that they're used to and expect. So the industry is wide, and we can help cover everyone, but we do like to focus on the professional and prosumer side of video.
So you're enabling an 8K drone?
Yeah, we were able to do 8K drone captures as well. Bosma had done a couple tests with drones as well. Hopefully, we'll start to see more and more 8K nature footage, I think, and just see the world in more detail, without getting blocky pixels. That's the whole point of 8K, is to really see better than what you can see. So you end up focusing on what you want to focus on a display, which is super cool.
And I guess it all gives more work for the AI. Because
Yeah.
now the AI, I'm thinking the AI has so much bandwidth, even in 1080 or 4K, to figure out what's there. Like in theory, the AI could even understand blurry or pixelated images, right? But
Yeah.
actually, if you give it more pixels, it like orders of magnitude more potential, right?
Yeah, and funny you mentioned AI, because we actually have developed a couple AI derived solutions. One is our AI upscaler, which allows us to upscale video from like a 2 by 2 pixel all the way up to 8K. So that's available as a plugin for DaVinci Resolve and Nuke. And we actually have a free 30-day trial on our AI upscaler. I'll send you the link to that later, Nick, so that you can share it to all of your viewers.
DaVinci
And
Resolve is an awesome editor, right? That's what I'm
yes,
using.
yes. And so we developed an OpenFX AI upscale plugin that's been gaining a lot of traction from a lot of our partners.
Is it affordable to pay for it after the 30 days?
Yeah, it's a $2,000 a year annual subscription. So if you're making video in HD and 4K, but you don't have the hardware to go up to 8K, well, you can upscale all of your current works using our AI upscaler, to accommodate that. Or let's say you have an old legacy logo that's in like HD or SD even, and you needed a 4K version of that. You can use our upscaler to upscale to like a 4K or HD or 4K or 8K type of a logo resolution if needed. What you see on the screen right now is we've actually also used AI to be able to cut. In Japanese, we call it kiridashi, and it's to cut a portion of the full frame 8K and follow like someone that you want. So, for instance, like let's say you had a favorite BTS singer that you wanted to follow around the stage. We have a solution that can follow just that person around the stage with a production. So that's capable.
All right. So you can follow.
And that'll be auto. So our Tamazon workstation will be able to recognize where that person is on stage and be able to digitally extract. I have a phone call. What a bad timing.
All right. Yeah, no problem. Then, yeah, I can just imagine the tons, like a million different ideas people might have what to do with their AI. As soon as you feed the 8K signal to them, I mean, they can maybe, for example, know kind of like guess the average age of everybody in the room or in the stadium. They can, I don't know, they can
I've
figure
seen
out where
some
people are
applications
sitting.
like that. Yes.
They can
Yeah.
figure out where people are sitting and who's a big consumer of popcorn and bring them more popcorn. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an observer world now, so all of that is definitely observable. And with the increase of all this data, we need to be able to handle and process in a fast, reliable way, so that we match times of processing that we're used to today. And Nick, you came by our booth 2 years ago, and we showcased our Tamazon workstation, which was doing that live 8K video switching with Panasonic's custom HDMI 2.1 switcher chip that we had on display a couple years back. And so we've just kind of evolved from there. We've been kind of doing what Astro does, evolving our own ecosystem and evolving our capabilities. And I know I'm talking in a lot of generalities here, but if there's ever a need to dive deeper into a project, we're all ears here at Astro Design, because we've done it from capture to editing and distribution. So very cool.
Yeah, if I'm just gonna try just for a second here to also show that you were talking about that was before the strange
That's
time.
the one. Yep.
That was just before the strange time happened, and we met in Las Vegas, right?
Yes.
And,
we usually meet every year in Vegas, but this year we haven't seen each other until
or
today.
the display week is display week. This is
Yeah.
what we're doing the video about.
Yeah.
And so there, this was talking. The title of the video was "World's Fastest 8K Video Editor Workstation." Amazon AW800.
That's correct. At the time, it was definitely the fastest.
With a Panasonic HDMI 2.1 8K hub.
Yes, that
It's
was
mind-blowing.
a HDMI 2.1 switcher, the world's first HDMI 2.1 switcher ever available in the world, although it was an engineer sample.
So I guess all the, like, you can go down a little bit and go visit the guys in the Hollywood and all these editors because they're all shooting, like the ones that really want to be in the forefront, they're shooting their movies in 8K, and maybe it's they call it a super Panavision kind of digital, right?
For on-premises solutions, we can definitely help. We do see a huge shift in that group as well, to a lot towards cloud computing, and so they're definitely they're definitely trying whatever they can to improve their own workflows themselves. So yeah, we'd be happy to talk with anyone really. It doesn't have to be just Hollywood, but it could be anyone. But this workstation is for everyone. If you want to do machine learning, you can do this. If you want to mine crypto, I don't know if you can or not, but you probably could, provided that the horsepower that this this device has.
Could you go back to this slide there? What does it say? 16 terabytes for 55 minutes and uncompressed. I mean, this is a big stuff.
Yeah, that's just an example of how much data is needed for that length of time, and the read-write speed on the Amazon workstation is kind of what separates itself. We solved a PCIe bus exchange issue with the motherboard, so it's a custom motherboard developed in conjunction with Foxconn technologies.
All right, and in that video there was some interesting a presentation here with your partners Panasonic, right?
Yes.
They were showing this chip because. My website is also called armdevices.net, and it's always fascinating to understand what people do with their chips and stuff. I'm running this live stream on my side on the Apple M1 ARM processor, and I'm always
nice.
I want to see what people might do by doing custom ARM solution or something like that. Maybe are you at all thinking in that direction and thinking, hey, how do we? Because I guess maybe you do a lot of stuff on FPGAs, and then you sometimes have, I guess, a bunch of Intel process without trying to get any secrets, right? But then
Sure.
It's like I don't know if it's a Windows computer or Linux or something. I guess you do Linux, right? I'm just guessing. And then there's a full x86 in the box and stuff. But maybe you could customize your own chips.
So yeah, we are currently developing a couple custom FPGA test equipment solutions for HDMI 2.1. So that we can help support customers that are looking at doing VRR, variable refresh rate, dynamic HDR metadata. So we do kind of mess with that more for our test and measurement group, so that we can have test and measurement solutions available for those that are trying to tackle the newest features of HDMI, for instance. And so that's something that we do. In terms of FPGA type products, a lot of our test equipment is actually based not on Linux, not on Windows, but on our own OS, so our own self-derived operating system. so that your test equipment from Astro is actually test equipment and not a modified computer. So we feel that's very important in distinguishing ourselves as a test equipment manufacturer.
So it might be involved in some kind of embedded architecture, or maybe it's just running on the x86. So I'm just guessing. I don't want to get any secrets, right? I'm just trying to understand,
yeah,
because there's so much tech there.
A lot of our test solutions are SoC. So the same type of chipsets that you would find in your set-top boxes is how it's kind of tested against. We gravitate towards the developers that develop the technology first, work with them hand in hand, and make sure that we can attack as many of the features that people are wanting to use. And let's not beat around the bush. It's a very difficult thing to do. It's very challenging, and it's a world's first type of development. So as much as we take our regular set-top box or Fire Stick or Chromecast or whatever you have, and you switch that input and it just works, like, that's a result of many hours of testing and planning and just making sure we're developing everything in the right way.
Am I understanding correctly that a lot of the stuff that you do is on FPGAs because you want to be 8 years in advance, right? And then and maybe it takes a few years for your partners and to maybe take that work that you've done, or that architecture, the design, and try to ship a custom SoC that goes in the TV when it ships out.
So that's all based on what interface you're working on. It really depends on the application. So we do have some FPGA solutions available, but we also do like to use the actual SoC in a lot of our test equipment, so that we are assured what's coming in is what people are reading, instead of what's coming in going through a program and then getting spit out chips. So it's really dependent upon the type of test equipment and type of solution that we're providing.
All right. And what are you showing here? Maybe you want to talk to that?
Oh, so these are just new, 8K HDMI 2.1 products that we see coming out in the future. We're seeing a revolution definitely last year with the launch of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox. With this new resolution and these new HDR formats that are coming out, don't be surprised to see new set-top boxes, updated graphic boards, definitely new televisions and new AV receivers. And the ecosystem is changing. We're at a point where people are going to be able to upgrade and actually see upgrades with the products that they buy, and we're just happy to support all of these products and make sure that they all work. So by the time it gets to your house, you plug it in and it works, and you don't have any weird no sync communication issues that typically used to happen quite a bit. So it's getting better and better.
Yeah, it's nice to see an ecosystem of the HDMI ecosystem being just plug and play, don't worry too much, and it just has to work. But there's a lot of challenges. People have to kind of know that their cable is capable, and when people buy a game console and it says HDMI 2.1, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to do 8K, but maybe it's whatever they're doing right now is future proof for the PS 5.1 or whatever they call it, or PS 8K, whenever all these, just to support all that stuff. And maybe some of that might come through the cloud. I don't know, because you might need a supercomputer sometimes to do some of these things. And if it might be hard to ship it to consumers.
Yeah, so a lot of what happens with the hardware is tried and true before it gets launched into the consumer space, so that they're able to handle all of the feature sets. We're seeing that people are starting to provide a complete solution now for HDMI 2.1. So it won't be very long until you find HDMI 2.1 in your own house, and plugging it into your brand new TV wouldn't surprise me if that's an HDMI 2.1 device. And it's just, like I said, a natural evolution of video. and we're just lucky to be, here while it's happening. So you're going to see a huge change, and it's a change for the better. It's going to be data intensive, but it's going to be worth it.
So definitely those, I guess more in Asia, manufacturers of these 100 million TVs or however the number is that they sell every year, they definitely have a bunch of your, boxes in their R&D and also on the quality control, testing and everything before they ship the products. Maybe they want to test every single TV.
Everywhere. You're talking from the development of a brand new product to, being on the factory floor to doing a final check of a product. That's where, this test equipment is used. So, like I said, we're behind the scenes, and I guarantee you whatever you're touching right now has probably seen an Astro sometime, provided that it has video, probably has seen an Astro device somewhere along its development and kind of birth cycle.
And you behind here we have a picture of space. You even in space, right? You've had the Astro in Astro.
So everyone, associates Astro with space just because of the name. Astro actually stands for Ashita Toro, which stands for "Let's take tomorrow" in Japanese. So little Astro Design trivia for you guys all. But yes, we've actually been in space. Back when 4K recording was kind of a brand new. We developed a 4K recorder that can sync up directly to a C500 Canon camera. And luckily we had one of our recorders go up into space and store some gorgeous Canon footage directly into the recorder. And that was when there was nothing 4K recording available. So we made our own standalone portable 4K recorder. And we sent that up into space. And hopefully we'll see more Astro Design products up there. Definitely working on it. It's not easy to get into that space, but
I'm addicted to watching the Elon Musk rockets go up. Like these, they have these amazing live streams and everything, and really nice high quality. I don't know if you're
Nick, we need to get in contact with SpaceX. If you can make that happen for me,
they're watching. They're watching. I'm sure they'll where they comment soon. But what I want to see is I want to see the Astro 8K camera on the moon, and the next 2 years, like the 2 or 3 years. Yeah, I want to see the 8K footage.
That's a goal for me right now. So it's a current work in progress. We'll see how that discussion goes, but. It's something that we definitely want to work on, and we want to capture. It's
Mars.
Just so gorgeous what we capture.
You're going to capture Mars. It's just going to be a few years, according to SpaceX timeline. And I'm hopeful it's happening because we were there as humans. We were there 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And we need to get back and just at least. Live stream the 8K or at least 4K, but also record everything in 8K. It's just going to be completely insanely different. It's going to be like this Apple TV series, but actually for real. There's this cool for all mankind TV show. But maybe. So here's another question. Somebody's asking, what's the MSRP? Is there any price on that? Boscam?
Well, what were we talking about? The Bosma camera?
Yeah, Bosma, yeah.
I don't have a final MSRP price right now, but I can tell you it's going to be pretty appealing. I'm going to say it's going to be under $10,000, and we'll get we'll kind of fine tune that, but I can comfortably say it'll be under $10,000 for that 8K 30p camera with live streaming capabilities, which is cool. So I'm still learning more about the camera head itself, and hopefully we'll have some cool footage to showcase. And Nick, maybe we can get you a demo piece as well.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I'd love to upgrade because actually YouTube supports for 8K as far as I understand.
They do.
So I need to upgrade my YouTube channel. That'd be awesome. That's no problem. I'll put the link and everything so people can what's it called? I'll put the tag in the corner if you want. It says footage shot on, but it needs to be stabilized, I get, on the stabilizer, right? You don't have a stabilized sensor.
We'll have to put it on a tripod and make sure it doesn't move at all.
But once I get to the moon, it's only a 6 gravity. I think you can shoot handheld. It'll be smooth, right? As far as I'm not a
it'd be cool to get some floating images around. Yeah, that'd be cool.
You could even throw the camera up in the air. It'd be smooth and like it won't crash. It will be.
You have to but if you're on the moon, you still have to make sure you catch it. If we're on the ISS, you can let it float around.
Oh yeah, you need to catch it. Yeah. All right. Whoa. So I mean, your slides. There's a huge presentation. There's much more.
It's just, we could go on for hours on each kind of solution that we provide. We just have such a vast amount of solutions available for video. An interesting one that's coming up is going to be like a 12G conversion to IP, so that we can support SMPTE 2110. So conversion boxes like that, stuff unseen really by normal people is what we work on. So we have a bunch of cool stuff. It's vast. So if you have any questions, you're free to reach out to myself or Jawad, and please ask away. We're happy to field questions and happy to make new Astro fans, because Astro fans are the best. I think Nick here has supported us for quite some time now, and Charbax, we appreciate your support. And yeah, it's just been a fun time with us. Nick knows he can come up to me and talk to me about anything, and I usually tell him. So, provided that I'm not under NDA. So I still keep all of that separate. So.
You like your job and your colleague's job also in Japan. I guess it must be like the dream of the biggest home theater high level enthusiast developers. I don't know if there's any better place to work. I don't know how it is. I have no idea, right? But I can imagine you have like the most cutting edge stuff, and it's so many years in front of everybody else.
I see some pretty cool stuff. I'm not going to lie. Yeah.
So
come visit Japan and see for yourself.
Yeah, that'd be great. So as soon as I get what's it called, the vaccine passport, what do you call the I'll be happy to jump to. Is it in Tokyo?
We
R&D.
Hey, if you want to come to our private show when we're allowed to have a private show again, we will. Just ask me. I'll get you a ticket into our office.
If you want, I record some footage. Don't publish it before you approve, so I don't film anything secret.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that.
Well, our private show is open, to all of our good customers. We typically have it every year in Japan. That's when we showcase all of our cool new items. Here in the United States, if you wanted to see that, my suggestion would be to come visit us at NAB. We're also we'll be at Infocom this year. So we'll be in Florida in October. So come visit us at NAB and Infocom, and we'd be happy to show you not only our 8K solutions, but also our test and measurement solutions. And hey, if you needed like an audio loudness monitor, hey, we could do that too. I know we had audio issues earlier, but if you needed an audio loudness monitor and pretty much anything broadcast, we can do that too.
There's one question in the chat.
Yep.
Maybe I can just bring it up right here, because you were mentioning that you also partner with the Sharp. So the solution that's in that Sharp AK Micro Four Thirds is also an Astro partnership, I guess. And it's official. You said that, right?
So that was more of a Sharp camera idea, but we did work with them with the AK camcorder. So there was a bunch of learnings that they took away from the AK camcorder work that they've tried to incorporate in that smaller Micro Four Thirds camera. There are some issues that I can't go into with that camera that potentially delayed its release or even canceled it. I'm not even sure where that's at right now. But
what I was missing from it is autofocus and IBIS. I always want to see if somebody can figure out a way, because it's a huge challenge, because as you were saying, there's so much heat you have to manage, and you even though it's a Micro Four Thirds, you want it's not easy to make a stabilized sensor, but that's more like a consumer thing, I guess. And there's a question about, are you going to be at the IBC?
IBC. I don't know. I'd have to ask my colleagues in Japan if they're going to be in IBC. But you'll be happy to know this Bosma camera. I have autofocus and continuous autofocus mode in the settings available in the Bosma 8K30p camera. So,
in answer to the IBC question, I did talk to one of our colleagues, and there are plans for it, but that's going to be handled on our Asia side. So what I can say is that there are plans to attend IBC this year, and I think that's taking place in December.
All right, it's like all these conferences it's hard. Hopefully they all happen soon again, because even though it's awesome to do these feature length interviews over like remote connections where we are debugging the echo and everything, but it's like a different thing to meet face to face, and like with my camera, with my Micro Four Thirds, get up close to all this gear. It gives another kind of like just like being there kind of experience.
I miss talking to people in person because sometimes you walk around our booth and you'll find something that you never really thought you'd find at our booth that might be of interest to you. And I feel like finding new products has been really difficult. Finding new ideas has been extremely difficult. Going back and reconnecting with your buddies has been easier. But yes, we do miss going out and speaking to people on the show floor and kind of showing, things like this camera head, right, in person, right? So you can really get up and see, what this is all about. With, these are BNCs, by the way, just covered. Yeah, we'd love to see you guys, and we miss that interaction, and hopefully NAB and hopefully Infocom this year we'll get to meet and talk with a bunch of you guys and see what it is people are looking for in the future. And
are you working with startups?
I'd love to work with startups. If you have a startup and you wanted to tackle a brand new idea that no one's done before, Astro is probably a good place to start. We'd love to entertain and see what we can do. And sometimes we can't do anything, and we'll tell you we can't do that, but sometimes we can. And then we get into a good partnership situation, and you have now you have an 8K capable stadium because of stuff like that. So world's first 8K stadium done by Astro Design.
Nice. Is there anything? Is it okay if I ask, like, why is all the camera tech only coming from Japan? But like, is it just hard work and like nobody can match the like skills and like what's happening?
We can make assumptions all day on why that is. But I think a major driving force lately has been the Japanese government themselves wanting to invest and showcase, 8K technologies as kind of a Japan-driven idea. And, really that launch point was supposed to be last year at the Olympics, which has been shuffled over to, is it next month already? Pretty soon. But I think a lot of that has to do with just government support and government funding and, just really a push and drive for Japan as a country to launch this new resolution to the world. And that was a push that started, years back, a decade or so back. And so we're finally seeing the fruits of everyone's labor and kind of going to this target of launching, 8K as a video resolution available for the world. And it's not just Japan. Countries, other countries as well have been, deeply involved in trying to get this up and running. I can, look at like France, for instance, doing the French Open with 8K capture, and just testing in general with major sports events. Like
it's happening right now, the Roland Garros.
Yes, and
but I a little bit wonder if, for example, the Olympics, is it going to be the whole event in 8K or just like the finals or something like that? Because sometimes they talk about just doing the final.
Yeah, I can't tell you because I frankly don't know. But I would expect a lot of the major kind of showcases to be shot in 8K. For example, back when the World Cup was in Brazil, the opening ceremony, closing ceremony, for instance, and the premier games, that's where 8K came into the world, came into a use case. So I think it really depends on kind of the vastness of it. I don't know what Japan has in store for us in terms of video in this upcoming month, but whatever is taken will be archived, and whatever is archived that we can enjoy on our displays that we have in our homes today, I guarantee you in the future those archives will come back and we'll be able to see things that we may not have remembered it due to the resolution that we currently are enjoying at home. But in the future, all of these things are being archived in 8K. So we'll see a better version of it as we see more and more consumer devices enable 8K viewing.
Yeah, I think maybe the advantage in Japan compared to other countries is it seems the other countries are saying, 4K is a big enough jump for now, and we're not really hurrying too much about the 8K stuff. But in Japan, and I guess I don't know about the politics, but all the different governments, they keep supporting it. Nobody's like tell them to get back and just stick with 4K
Japan
or something.
is the only country that has two available 8K channels. So they have 8K satellite channels, two of them, that are actually sending a full frame 8K resolution video to homes. And if provided you have an 8K capable TV, you can watch that in your house today, which is amazing.
I mean, if they do 4K 24p Netflix and stuff, and at 15 megabits, that means my 100 megabit download that I have right here, it's plenty enough to do 8K. Like in theory, you could do 8K on 100 megabits, right?
Yeah. I think we'll start to see more and more solutions come out to have us enjoy 8K, right in front of us, which is going to be great because the closer you get to those 8K displays, the better they get, because you see zero pixelation. Yep.
8K traditional was tape flown to Japan for NHK.
Funny you mentioned that. Archiving in 8K is actually done on tapes. So, there is tape storage for 8K, believe it or not. So you're not too far off the truth there.
And Astro did a lot of work on the UHD TV in 2006. So
yes, super high vision is definitely what 8K is kind of the new what Japan called NHK calls super high vision is 8K. So yes, we've been working hand in hand with NHK from the very beginning. So we consider ourselves the world's experts when it comes to 8K resolution technologies.
Nice. And hopefully before we land on Mars, then everybody can afford to have 8K on the whole wall. Some kind of display tech is going to come out affordable and 8K for everybody, for the mass market.
Hey, Nick, the way things are moving right now, it could be by the end of this year where you're going to have a super affordable 8K television that you can use in your house, provided it'll be 8K 30, but it's definitely coming. Yep.
He says UHD TV always was 8K. It was always supposed to be.
Perpetual, we won't get into the politics of all of this, but that's a whole another conversation.
All right, but thanks a lot. Thanks. I don't want to take into too much. Maybe you have some other meetings. And stuff
no,
happening.
we could do this all day. So we have we have a ton of stuff we can talk about. I'm pretty sure, if there's a particular interest, you want to learn more about something very specific, send it over to Nick. Nick will ping me and we'll discuss on how we can present it to you guys. We're thrilled to help. We're a helping behind the scenes type of a company. So it'd be interesting to hear what ideas are out there so that we can send those ideas down the line and get people's minds moving and thinking in ways that, traditionally may not have come about. So we'd be happy to talk about anything. And like I said, we have such a vast broadcast camera. This one.
Yeah, that one is right, but I guess we also
this one is broadcast targeted. It's a 12G SDI output, so definitely a professional video interface on this one. Same with the Sharp camcorder that was also designed as a broadcast camera. Now the Bosma camera, the small cube camera, that is not a broadcast camera. That's more for you to carry around and go take shots and set it on a tripod, do gorgeous 8K time lapses. That's what the Bosma camera is for. On top of being able to stream out live, provided you have the right equipment. You can potentially could have done this live in 8K if we wanted to, if I had the camera.
But when you say stream out live, to me it sounds like broadcast.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess you could use it as broadcast too. But
you could do live.
I think the focus and user focus is more for a prosumer type of a person as opposed to professional broadcast studio, which these guys are for.
And you were talking about when $12, you can scroll back. There was some talk about less than 10,000 for sure. That's the kind of like what you can say for now. And
it depends. Camera.
It depends.
Something like this perpetual. If you're kind of curious, something like this AK120, you're looking about $88,000 for this one.
All right, so more than $8,000. More than $8K. Yeah. So 88K.
Yes.
So there's so many topics. It'd be awesome to see more of like the Micro Four Thirds 8K, what it looks like. And when you talk about autofocus, I'm always dreaming of a great Micro Four Thirds with phase detect autofocus. But that means the sensor has to be designed with the phase detect, and it's something that I've been waiting for Panasonic to do for like years, for example. And it's always hard to figure out where that's for something else. And maybe it'd be great. Yeah, please go ahead.
I'll let our partners decide on how they want to do that. But we can provide them the tools to develop it. So.
And please, if you can let your partners know that they can ping me, I'm happy to do videos with all your partners if they want to talk about some cool tech.
Yeah.
Like any of your friends in the tech, maybe there's somebody in the Silicon Valley who's doing a project they want to show the world. They want to talk with a YouTuber. Please, they can just add me in my calendar, my Calendly link, and we can schedule an interview.
Sounds good.
And the red is about 50,000. They're talking about the red, but the red is it's a different thing, right?
Yeah, no, a red camera head is a totally different type of use case. I'm pretty sure it doesn't do 8K 120 hertz.
All right, cool. 120 hertz is the right way to do 8K.
Super high vision 120. It's in the spec, and HK made it.
All right. So thanks a lot. Thanks again for this feature film on my YouTube channel. It's a competitor to the Netflix show. Right.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you learned something of importance. If not, you can always email us and we'll be able to hopefully teach something.
1200 frames per second. That's for later.
Ooh, yeah, that's future. That'd be amazing though.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks a lot.
Very cool. Thank you, Nick. Have a good day. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.